Have you ever had like that feeling where you wake up and uh, you look around at your life and everything looks absolutely perfect on paper?
Oh, right, yeah. The on-paper perfection.
Exactly. But deep down, it secretly feels, I mean, utterly exhausting just to keep performing it. Like you're wearing a tailored suit that's 2 sizes too small.
Yeah, and everyone keeps complimenting you on how great it looks.
Right. But all you want to do is just, rip it off, take a massive deep breath, and just walk into the woods.
That is such a specific and frankly a very pervasive kind of modern exhaustion. It's the fatigue of maintaining a life that you thought you were supposed to want.
Yeah.
You spend years building the architecture of a career or, a relationship or an identity, only to realize you've basically engineered a beautiful cage.
A beautiful cage. Welcome to today's deep dive. Today is May 30th, 2026. Which means we are sitting on the absolute eve of a major astrological event.
We really are.
Tomorrow, May 31st, we have a full moon in Sagittarius.
Mm.
But we aren't just going to sit here and list off planetary alignments today.
No, definitely not. Because we're exploring this through a very unique lens. We're looking at a pair of sources from the creator Tarot by Heisey.
Yeah.
So we have the astrological forecast for this specific Sagittarius full moon, and it's paired with companion sci-fi short story written by the same author.
Right, titled The Cartographers of the Hollow Sky.
Exactly.
So our mission today is to explore a really profound tension that exists in almost all of us. It's that friction between the comfort of a guaranteed, predictable future and the terrifying but beautiful responsibility of choosing our own unmapped path.
It's just a brilliant pairing because Heisey uses the narrative to give us a practical, emotional application of the cosmic weather.
Right.
It takes these vast astrological concepts and puts them into the minds of characters who are forced to make impossible choices.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we jump into the deep space adventure, we really need to understand the cosmic weather that inspired it.
For sure.
So when I was going through the forecast for the Sagittarius full moon, the image that kept popping into my head was being on one of those moving walkways at a massive international airport.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Right. You step on, it's smooth, the momentum is just carrying you forward. You don't even have to think about it.
You're just coasting.
Yeah. But suddenly, halfway down the concourse, you look up at the signs and realize this walkway is taking you to the entirely wrong terminal.
And you have all your heavy luggage with you.
Exactly. And you realize you have to make this incredibly awkward public decision to turn around.
Which nobody wants to do.
No, you have to fight the forward momentum of the machine and walk backwards against the crowd of annoyed travelers just to get off.
It's so embarrassing.
It's difficult, but I mean, the alternative is getting on a flight to a city you don't even want to visit.
That captures the friction perfectly. Because the Sagittarius full moon is all about truth-seeking, completions and revelations really coming to a head.
The lights turning on.
Exactly. It's a breakthrough moment. The forecast emphasizes that this is a transit where our outdated philosophies are going to crack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's the moment you realize that the future you've been diligently working toward suddenly feels fundamentally false.
It calls us to release the story that no longer points forward. Which, sounds incredibly liberating on a bumper sticker.
Right, but living through it is completely terrifying.
Because you are fighting the momentum of the walkway.
But here is where the specific alignments of this full moon give us the toolkit to handle that terror. We have a trine to both Saturn and Neptune happening simultaneously.
Which is huge.
It really is. And assuming you know how these energies operate, you understand how wild this combination is. We all know Neptune brings the intuition, the fog, the dream states.
That deep inner knowing, that defies language.
Right. But because it's forming a harmonious link with Saturn, we aren't just getting Neptune's usual formless daydreams.
Right, because Saturn grounds it.
Yes. Saturn is right there, handing us the architectural blueprints to actually build those dreams into reality.
Wait, hold on. Let me step in here. Because as someone who maps out my 5-year plans in a spreadsheet, I have to push back a little.
Go for it.
Giving up a secure trajectory, abandoning a solid, guaranteed life plan just because Neptune gives you a feeling or an intuition, that sounds like a recipe for a midlife crisis, not a strategic breakthrough.
I mean, a lot of people would agree with you.
Right. How is that not just reckless behavior? We are conditioned to demand data, guarantees, and pros and cons lists before we make a major life pivot.
And you are not alone in that hesitation. That exact conflict, the friction between the demand for data and the undeniable pull of intuition, That is the beating heart of our second source material.
Yeah.
The Cartographers of the Hollow Sky is basically a masterclass in dissecting your exact pushback.
It really is. So let's set the scene for the story. Hirayusi drops us into a universe governed by a civilization called the Dominion of Accord.
Which sounds incredibly intense.
Yeah. Oh, honestly, it sounds like an algorithmic nightmare. It's a society where your entire life is assigned at birth by predictive engines called oracles.
Everything is mapped.
Everything. We aren't just talking about aptitude tests. We are talking about your purpose, your career trajectory, your relationships, even the statistical probability of your death.
Wow.
Yeah. Everything is perfectly mapped, optimized, and guaranteed.
In the Dominion, deviation is considered wasteful. Wonder is actually considered dangerous.
Because wonder leads to question.
Exactly, and questioning dismantles the predictive models. Every citizen walks a corridor that has already been measured for them. It is the ultimate manifestation of certainty and control.
Which perfectly represents the life we live when we refuse to step off your airport walkway.
Exactly.
Which brings us to our protagonist, Captain Ilian Vale. He has served faithfully on the exploration vessel Halcyon for 23 years.
23 years of following the map.
Yeah, he is the absolute poster child for doing what you're told and hitting your metrics. So they are out near the edge of Dominion space, near a region of collapsed gravity called the Hollow Sky.
Which everyone avoids because it messes with the predictive engines.
Right. And suddenly they receive a signal.
What's fascinating here is the specific nature of that signal. It doesn't arrive as a distress call or a burst of binary code or any kind of recognizable language.
It arrives as memory.
Yes.
The description in the text is so evocative. Ilian doesn't hear words. He hears a child laughing. He hears the sound of wind rushing through unfamiliar trees.
And my favorite part.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
He experiences the sensation of standing somewhere impossibly vast and feeling, for the first time in his life, insignificant in the right way.
That phrasing, insignificant in the right way, doing so much heavy lifting.
It really is.
Think about how that connects to the Neptune energy we just discussed. This signal completely bypasses the rational, data-driven brain.
It touches something primal.
Pre-verbal, even. It is the exact manifestation of sensing what is true without needing a logical explanation. It's a profound internal resonance.
And it immediately creates a massive ideological divide on the ship. Because on one side, you have Scholar Tovin.
Right, the loyalist.
Yet Tovin is the Dominion loyalist. He treats the oracles like religious scripture. He represents that rigid, desperate demand for certainty that I was just defending a minute ago.
He's the spreadsheet guy.
Exactly. Tovin looks at this signal, realizes it doesn't fit into his metrics, and immediately dismisses it as a cognitive distortion caused by the spatial anomaly.
He wants to mute it.
He wants to catalog it as an error and just move on with their assigned survey route.
Because Tovin embodies the rigidity of a system or a mindset that simply cannot tolerate anything outside its pre-programmed parameters, to a predictive engine, anything unmapped is inherently broken.
Right.
Tovin isn't just rejecting the signal, he's rejecting the possibility that the universe is larger than his understanding of it.
But then you have Commander Sarah Nadir. Ilian confesses to her that the signal feels intentional. He says it feels like remembering a forgotten promise to himself.
Oof.
I know, right? And Nadir looks at the situation, listens to that deep Neptune intuition, and decides to make what she calls an intelligent mistake.
I love that phrase, intelligent mistake.
Me too. She overrides the survey route, they turn the ship, and they follow the signal into the hollow sky.
And the journey itself immediately becomes destabilizing. They travel through fractured gravity and warped time.
Clock skip.
Conversations feel unfinished before they even begin. The very fabric of their reality starts to unspool.
I kept thinking about you, the listener, and how terrifying this phase of the journey is. Like, think about a time you finally admitted a relationship was over, or that you needed to quit a secure job.
The ground falls out from under you.
Yeah, before you even take action, the whole world suddenly feels structurally unsound. On the Halcyon, the crew is terrified. Engineer Merrill wants to turn back.
Navigator Alex stops sleeping entirely.
Just obsessively sketching dream geometries on the bulkheads. They aren't just exploring uncharted space anymore, they are evaluating their own shrinking souls.
Precisely. The external environment, the warped gravity, the shifting stars, is literally mirroring their internal deconstruction.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
They are quietly confronting a future that suddenly feels too small. Elian realizes he has spent years performing competence while quietly exhausting himself trying to become the version of life the Dominion expected of him.
Which brings us right back to the core message of the Sagittarius full moon.
The exhaustion of a false trajectory.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because this internal psychological evaluation becomes completely literal when they finally reach the source of the signal.
Yes.
They land on a hidden planet, tucked away inside folded space.
Whoa.
There's no star system, no civilization, just a silver ocean beneath an enormous pale moon.
The visual language Hasi uses here is incredibly cinematic, but it's also highly symbolic.
Absolutely. They find these towering architectural arches covered in engraved symbols.
Right.
But the symbols aren't fixed.
No, the language literally changes depending on who is looking at it.
For Elian, he doesn't see alien hieroglyphics.
Right.
He sees his own memories projected back at him. He sees his academy graduation.
He sees his father's disappointed expression.
Yeah. He sees the transfer orders he accepted just to be acceptable. The planet is forcing him to look at every single time he ignored his own truth to fit into the Dominion's box.
It's confronting him with the ultimate cost of his compliance. It's forcing him to see that by choosing safety, he traded away his authenticity.
Wow.
And this gauntlet of memories leads them to the center of the ruins, to a chamber filled with floating crystalline spheres.
These spheres are brilliant. They are like the anti-oracles.
Exactly.
Instead of showing one fixed, guaranteed, mapped-out destiny, they show fluid, constantly shifting futures, thousands of possible lives branching out.
It's overwhelming.
Elian looks into his sphere, and he sees the two major paths before him. First, he sees what happens if he remains loyal to the Dominion, if he gets back on the moving walkway.
Which is exactly what the predictive engines promised. Promotion, prestige, respect from his peers.
But he also feels the emotional reality of that path. A deep, hollow loneliness, bitterness, a shrinking soul trapped inside a highly decorated uniform.
He sees the safety of the known revealed for what it truly is.
A prison.
A prison.
Exactly. And the alternative future in the sphere shows exile. It shows him breaking away from the Dominion.
It is risk.
Extreme uncertainty and a high probability of failure. Nothing is guaranteed. But as he watches this future, he feels something he hasn't felt in decades.
He feels alive.
He feels alive. He sees a life of actual meaning.
To understand the intensity of this moment in the chamber, we have to weave in another crucial astrological dynamic happening during this full moon.
Okay, what is it?
The Sagittarius moon is tightly conjunct Antares.
Oh, one of the major royal stars.
Yes, the heart of the Scorpion. And Antares brings a massive, intense, militant, driving energy. It is forceful and ambitious.
Right.
Now, when Sagittarius energy, which is mutable fire, constantly seeking truth and expansion, hits the raw power of Antares, that energy has to go somewhere.
It can't just sit there.
No. The forecast is very clear about how this splits. If you direct that intense Antares energy inward towards self-mastery, it is incredibly positive.
Okay.
It gives you the raw courage to dismantle your own limitations, face your shadows, and break your own chains.
Got it.
But if that intense energy is stimulated by fear, specifically the fear of the unknown, and you project it outward as a temptation to dominate and control your environment...
It becomes wildly destructive.
Exactly.
And you see that exact duality play out perfectly between Alien and Scholar Tovin in this chamber.
Oh, beautifully.
Alien is internalizing the Antares energy. He's facing his own shadows, enduring the pain of his past compromises, and finding the self-mastery to accept an unmapped future. He is letting the old philosophy crack. But Tovin, man, Tovin experiences a complete psychological meltdown.
Because Tovin perfectly embodies the shadow side of Antares. Tovin looks into his sphere, and what he sees absolutely terrifies him.
He sees authority, influence, and control, sure.
Yes. But the sphere forces him to feel the reality of his choices. He feels the fear, the intense isolation, and he realizes that the civilization he worships is becoming smaller and more fragile simply because no one ever questions it.
He cannot handle the realization that his beloved certainty is actually a coffin.
No, he can't.
And how does he react? He doesn't reflect. He gets enraged. He shouts at the crew that people need certainty, that the Dominion is the only thing keeping them safe from chaos.
Panic sets in.
Full panic.
Yeah.
And in a fit of it, he physically smashes his crystalline sphere against the floor.
His urge to control, driven entirely by the terror of an unmapped reality, turns instantly destructive.
Yeah.
He would rather literally destroy the truth than live in a universe where he isn't guaranteed a specific outcome.
Which is terrifying.
Think about how often we see that in the real world. How often do institutions, or even just people in our own lives, react with hostility and control when you disrupt their predictable narrative.
It happens all the time. People hate when you go off script.
Exactly.
And Tovin's destruction of the sphere is what triggers the climax of the entire story. The planet itself, this psychic environment, responds violently to his attempt to dominate it.
It fights back.
Energy surges through the chamber, the structures start collapsing, and the crew has to run for their lives back to the ship through this raging, unnatural storm.
The environment is forcing a final, desperate choice between the illusion of control and the terrifying reality of freedom.
So Tobin reaches the Halcyon first, and he doesn't just prep the ship for takeoff. He grabs the emergency controls, initiates a full lockdown, and seals the ship's outer doors.
Stranding Yelan and half a crew outside in the lethal storm.
Yeah, and the wildest part is how he justifies it. He gets on the comms and calmly states that the crew has been compromised by the anomaly and are making irrational choices.
Again, the ultimate shadow of Antares. He is using brute force to dominate the situation, masking his own existential panic under the guise of logic, protocol, and righteousness.
He's weaponizing the rules to protect his fear.
Perfectly said.
Alien is trapped outside, watching the ship power up to leave them behind. And in that moment, he has absolute clarity.
The breakthrough.
He realizes that the Dominion's so-called wisdom, all the metrics, the predictive engines, the oracles, is actually just fear disguised as protection.
It's a desperate civilization-wide need to dominate uncertainty.
And Alien decides he is finally completely done playing their game. He manages to pry open an exterior maintenance hatch to get inside the airlock.
Which brings us to the final key astrological aspects that Heisei highlights in the forecast.
Well, let me guess, he finally sits down and writes a logical pros and cons list.
Hardly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the forecast points out that the full moon is forming a trine to Pallas Athena.
Okay, remind us about Pallas Athena.
Pallas Athena is the archetype of courageous strategy, pattern recognition, and creative intelligence. She is the weaver who sees how the whole system connects.
Right, but Ilian's creative strategy in this moment is incredibly gritty. He doesn't elegantly hack the mainframe.
No!
He doesn't type 1,000,000 words a minute like some smooth sci-fi action hero bypassing the firewall.
Not at all.
He grabs a heavy hydraulic maintenance tool from the wall, walks up to the ship's primary control relay, and physically smashes it to pieces. Sparks literally explode across the corridor.
It's so visceral.
He completely destroys the command grid that connects the ship to the Dominion's oracles.
Because that is the ultimate strategic move when you realize you are trapped in a corrupted system.
Yeah.
Pallas Athena energy recognizes that you cannot win a rigged game by playing by its rules. Strategy doesn't always mean a complicated algorithm.
Right.
Sometimes true strategic intelligence is recognizing that the machine itself is the problem. He destroys his own guaranteed future to sever the connection to the system that is suffocating them.
Tobin watches him do this, staring in total horrified disbelief, and says, "You've destroyed your future."
And Ilian's response is spoken so quietly, but it carries so much weight.
Yeah, he says, "No, I've stopped pretending someone else gets to decide it."
It's the definitive release. He has stepped off the moving walkway. He has smashed the machine that was taking him to the wrong terminal.
The aftermath of that decision is so beautiful and honestly a huge relief. The moment the relay is destroyed and the ship goes dark to the Dominion, the psychic storm outside immediately passes.
The planet quiets down.
The crew gathers on the observation deck, looking out through the viewport at these impossible, completely unmapped constellations. Nobody is sleeping, but they aren't frantic anymore.
There is just this quiet awe.
And then, the ship's autonomous navigation array chimes.
A new route appears on the console.
But it's fundamentally different this time. There are no predictive models. There is unmapped space, unknown destinations, and absolutely no probabilities attached to any of it. Just pure possibility.
I love that.
Commander Nadir looks at the new map, looks at Elian, and simply asks, "Captain." And Elian takes a breath and says, "Let's see what becomes possible when we stop traveling inside someone else's story."
It's a remarkable conclusion because it doesn't offer a neat bow.
Now,
He doesn't have a perfect answer or a new 5-year plan. He just has honesty and the willingness to face the unknown. And that is enough to move forward.
so what does this all mean? We've traveled from an astrological forecast in the real world to a hidden planet in a sci-fi universe. But ultimately, this deep dive is about you, the listener.
It always is.
It's asking you to look at your own life right now, today. Are you holding on to an outdated belief, a relationship, or a career role Just because it's predictable?
Just because it's what the oracles of your life, your parents, your society, your own past expectations of yourself told you was safe.
Exactly. Are you playing Tovin, gripping the steering wheel so tightly, trying to control the narrative out of sheer fear of the unknown? Or are you ready to be alien, grab the maintenance tool, and smash the control relay of a life that feels too small for you?
This raises an important question, perhaps the most important paradox of all the material we've looked at today.
What's that?
Well, we started this deep dive by examining an astrological forecast. Historically, astrology has often been treated as an oracle, a way to predict the future, to know what's coming, to gain certainty and alleviate anxiety.
Right.
But the core lesson of this specific astrology and the profound story it inspired is to actively reject assigned destinies. It asks us to leave the map behind.
Oh, wow.
So what if the very act of constantly seeking out predictions, forecasts, and guarantees of certainty is actually just our sophisticated way of hiding from the terrifying, magnificent responsibility of writing our own unmapped future?
That is a massive thought to chew on. If you're walking on that moving walkway today, and you suddenly realize you're headed to the wrong terminal, don't just stand there because it's easy and is what everyone else is doing.
Turn around. Fight the momentum.
Step off. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Step out into the unknown, and we'll see you next time.